Another episode of Amputee Outdoors. I'm your host Glenn, and today I'm at Evans Creek Preserve, and I'm just going to be checking out my big Peak 1 Coleman compared to the smaller Peak 1 Coleman. Okay, this is that plastic, nylon, some kind of artificial plasticky product that these packs are made out of. They're both external frames. The large one here I've got set up for my winter camping kind of situation. The only thing missing from it, I think, is my down comforter. Let me read off for you what I've got in there, just so you know an idea of the materials, and I'll tell you the weight. So I've got my stove, 2 canisters of fuel, my cook pot, the 10 essentials, 3 liters of water, 2 bandanas, a lamp, reflective tarp. That's actually a large double layered tarp that I use. An extra emergency blanket, my water filter, a bag to cook in. That's when I put the bags of freeze-dried food into a reflective bag and seal it up and let it sit for 15 minutes. I found that in the wintertime, if you do that, the food stays warmer longer and doesn't get cold so quick. And then I've got my 12 by 12 rain fly. That's that big black one you've probably seen in other videos. And of course my hammock. And I've got my down sleeping bag, which is rated down to I think about 15 degrees Fahrenheit. I've used it down to 19. It's kept me, pretty toasty warm. And of course my Reflectix pad. Now, total, this weighs 30 pounds. Okay, this does not include food. Normally, say a 4-day kind of adventure, I'm packing anything from 4 to 5 pounds of food. Most of the weight is actually in my day-to-day snacking that I have. That weighs more usually than the freeze-dried stuff. Empty, this big Peak 1 Coleman frame and backpack weigh 5 pounds. Okay, now let's look at some measurements here, because as you can see, just looking at this video, the size difference is pretty dramatic. It's in about 26.5 inches tall for the small one. "34 inches tall for the big one. Now this big one is the one that I've seen a couple of other YouTube videos where guys have used these for going hunting and strapped on half an elk on the bloody thing or something crazy like that and hold it out of there. They've got a very, very high capacity for weight. Now width at the top here, 13 inches, and on this one, 15 inches. So considerably larger, a lot more capacity. The Coleman, I really like the fact that I can customize the heck out of this thing. I'll bring the camera in a little bit closer in a minute and show you some of the stuff that I've done. The pack, the straps, and a bunch of other stuff, I've taken bits and pieces from other backpacks that I've got at thrift stores and customized them onto this pack so that I can use them the way I want to use them, fit them the way I want to fit them, and things like that. So with that, let me bring you in close and give you a good look at this, all right? Hang on now. So this is the smaller Coleman, and those shoulder straps and belt were not what came with it when I bought this. The pack is. I got these from another backpack, retrofitted them onto the Coleman. The nice thing with the Coleman is you see all these little slots they've got down here. You can fit a variety of things into them. May take a little bit of creativity, but if you've got any kind of do-it-yourself kind of skill, easily done. As you can tell, this is the quality sewing and craftsmanship of the Amputee Outdoors sewing office. And yeah, so far they've held. I use furniture, thread, and overstitch things a lot. This belt, as you can see, is kind of faded. I got this from another backpack secondhand, but it's all in good condition and working. So you can see all the holes down there that you can hook to. Now, I've seen where some guys have taken the Coleman and attached to it the military rucksacks, and everything lined up just perfect. So That's another option you might want to consider if you're doing this yourself. All right, so let's get this on and get this out into the woods and go up and down some hills and do some stress testing like I've done with the smaller Coleman and also with the do-it-yourself that I showed the other week. Hold on now. Hey, all right, so we've been walking along for a while, and I guess it's a good time as any to do a few tests of this Coleman pack. So with the weight that's on it, especially for us amputees, we've got to be looking out for things like balance, stability, things like that. And one of the things that always happens, of course, is that as you're going along the trail, you drop something. Now, do you bend over and pick it up? Do you take off your pack and kneel down and get it? How do you do this? Well, if your pack is distributed properly across your back, the weight, and on your hips, and you'll notice this belt that I've got here is pretty darn big, and it's really nicely resting on my hips. So my weight is pretty darn stable here, okay? I've got a little bit of sway here, but as you can see, even with my feet close together, I'm not being pulled off balance, okay? All right, so for those who've got two legs, that may not be such a big deal, but for those of us on a prosthetic, doing what I just did is actually pretty good. But bending over, picking something up. Let's say I've dropped a maple leaf and I'm going to want to pick it up. Let's see if I can do that without falling over. Easily enough. It all depends on the way the weight is structured in your pack. You want the weight on the hips. You want the weight not so much up on high. If you've got something heavy, get it around about in the center of your back there. Put the light things up on the top. So up on the top here, I've got my Reflectix pad. Okay, very, very light. On the bottom here, this is my 12 by 12 black do-it-yourself tarp, which is, well, bloody heavy actually. But because the weight's distributed this way, when I lean over, I'm not tipping over. Okay, so again, easily done if the weight's distributed properly. Okay, all right. Let's get further down the trail and do a few more tests, and we'll talk about going downhill, going uphill with a lot of weight on your back. Okay, all right. Hold on now. Hey, so going downhill with a heavy pack on your back. Now, for amputees, this is a really, really big deal because your prosthetic foot or feet, if you're a double, they're going to want to pitch you forward much, much faster. You know that. You've experienced it, and that's why a lot of you, like myself, use hiking poles. Those of you that don't, I admire you, but I don't see how the heck you do it. If you could, put some comments down below about how you hike, not use poles, and don't fall over all the time, let me know, okay? And if you're really that good, maybe you should join one of those circuses of incredible acrobats because you're a talented person. Anyway, for those of us that aren't that talented, poles are really useful, but the other important thing is, especially when you've got a heavy pack, is you've got extra mass pushing you down that hill, okay? You're going to be using your poles a lot, but what you've also got to make sure is that your straps are on there properly, okay? You don't want the weight pushing you down. You don't want it pulling you back. You want it just right so that you're balanced. So what you want to do, when you get your pack on, get it nice and snug around your waist, okay? You want it nice and snug so that it's resting on your hips. Your shoulders, okay, you want them so that you can get your thumbs under your straps and pull just a little bit and have some room there for your thumbs. If it's so tight you can barely get your thumb in there, it's too tight. It's going to chafe you, and especially going up or downhill, you're going to feel that weight in ways you don't want. More going uphill than downhill most of the time with that case, but you're going to hate it, okay? If you got this sternum strap here, that's a good idea too. I've got some packs where I've not used this, and it's okay. But the sternum strap manages to keep these kind of in. Okay, this isn't actually doing anything more than just keeping these straps from sliding out on you. All right. If you've got the kind of backpack where it's got the strap up here that pulls the strap up away from your shoulder, that's always a good idea. Okay, because what that does, you snug these down a little bit, tightens this a little bit, but pulls the weight away from your shoulders so that the weight isn't pulling you down that way, okay? I don't know if you can see that very well from here, but yeah, that's what it does. All right, so when you're going downhill, got your poles, you got that extra weight, okay? So you take your time a little bit more as you're going down, all right? Depending upon the kind of foot that you've got, a little slower, a little more careful. As I've always mentioned in other videos, check with your prosthesis first. Check with your prosthetic and say, hey, look, you know, I'm going to go out hiking. I'm going to have a 30-pound pack. Is this foot ready? Am I ready? Check, okay? All right. I think we'll go a little bit further, and maybe we'll do a stress test of this pack and see how it's holding up. So far, this Coleman is ridiculously comfortable, even with this weight on it. I can feel that there's weight there, but doesn't really bother me. It feels comfortable, it feels well balanced, and the pack external frame itself, very comfortable. All right, let's get down the trail and we'll check out a few drop tests. So this is the stress test, drop test part of the film today. Found a nice little babbling brook to be next to. Nice sound. Can you hear that? Listen. Nice, isn't it? So I'm going to interrupt that beautiful sound with the sound of my backpack hitting the ground. Okay? So those of you who've seen some of the other videos where I've done this, there's always a certain element of risk involved due to the fact that, you know, my DIY kind of stuff with the frame itself may break, snap, come undone, something, and then I've got to figure out what to do with it and haul it back up to the trailhead. All right, so a little bit of risk, but hey, I much rather find this stuff out now in this kind of test environment than actually out on a hike. Now this is a good rule to go with even if you buy brand new equipment. You've gone down to your outdoor place and you spend a few $100s on some equipment, load it up with all your gear, empty it out, load it up again, empty it out, load it up again, empty it out. Figure out where you want everything to go. Then when you're satisfied with that, put it on your back and go for a walk in the woods nearby your house. Even if you've only got a park, you can just walk around the park, okay? Yes, you may look a little goofy walking around the neighborhood park with your backpack on, but you will feel a lot goofier when you're out on the trail and you discover something about your pack that's annoying you or doesn't work or doesn't fit right, okay? Best to find it out in a controlled environment near your house where if something goes wrong, hey, no big deal, you can get home, go return it, fix it, what have you, okay? A little bit of goofiness up front saves a whole lot of hassle and pain and trouble later, okay? All right, so let's get this thing off and do some tests. First, shoulder strap and the waist belt. Left arm, and then we're just going to slide it down my prosthesis here. All right, there we go. So the first test we'll do, about mid-height here, drop it down on this side here and see how it does. See if my stitching holds and if the frame holds. I'm pretty confident about the frame. I've done this with the Coleman Peak one, the smaller version, and that frame held up incredibly well. It's ridiculously sturdy, resilient, partially because of its material. It's not a hard material. It doesn't bend or crimp like, say, some of the aluminum ones will. It can't snap like maybe some of the PVC stuff that you can get like what I've made previously. But it's not an internal frame, so that's the thing you've got to check. Is this external frame going to hold up to this kind of damage that could happen out on the trail? Let's find out. All right, from about here, okay. Let me get further back so you can see it actually hit the ground there. Okay, you ready? All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Nice solid thump there, huh? These straps are a little long. I'm probably gonna have to cut these back a little bit. No, looks okay. Well, you think I should do it again? Yeah? Okay, all right. All right, 3, 2, 1. I like that solid thump, you know? All right, let's get this up. No, everything seemed to hold. All right, let's drop it on its side. I'll drop it on the side with the bandana, okay? 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that's loose right here. So what I've just discovered is that this strapping system that I set up here isn't going to do the job. This is coming loose. That's going to be a problem for me. This is why you do these kinds of tests. So what that means is I'm going to take this back into my do-it-yourself garage and I'm going to tighten these up somehow, maybe lose some of the extra strappage, and that way I've got a tighter fit, not so much excess material. Again, this is why we do these tests, okay? All right, now I'm going to drop it actually on the frame itself, okay? All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Bit of a bounce there from the material, huh? Okay, let's see. Seemed to hold up pretty good. I'll do it again though, just for the heck of it, all right? All right, 3, 2, 1. All right. Yeah, this looks pretty good. I'm pretty satisfied with this. Do gotta tighten up the straps for up here, but I think we're pretty good. All right. Now you remember how to put on a backpack, right? You don't just lift up on your shoulder. Sure, you can do that, but do it too often, you start wrenching your shoulder and damage the straps over time and stuff like that. So how do you do it? I know you know. Okay, here we go. Get your arm in here, bring it up your leg or your prosthetic, get it up to your leg, swing it onto your shoulder. There we go. All right. Now if I didn't do that quite right, or quite the way it's supposed to be done, feel free to put something in the comments section and let me know. Glenn, you didn't do that pack lift just right. Let me tell you how, or let me show you the video of how to do it. Put it in the comment section. I want to know about it, okay? Appreciate it. All right, let's get on the trail. All right, so one of the things about wearing a backpack as an amputee, or just wearing a backpack in general, is range of motion, freedom of motion, and what it does in terms of restricting your motion, okay? So, put those there. Let's check that, all right? So with this pack, I've got some room here, so I can tilt my head back to here, but not any further, okay? I'm hitting that frame back there. That's the thing to keep in mind when you're looking at external frame packs. Is that going to be a problem for you? Is it not going to be a problem for you? Do you wear a huge cowboy hat and the back of that hat's going to be hitting that frame? Something to consider, I guess. But, as you can see, I don't have a full range of head motion there, okay? Now in terms of getting my arms around, pretty darn good. I can get all the way back here, okay? And as I've shown earlier, I can bend down, I can pick up something off the ground fairly easily, okay? When I'm leaning one way or the other, I can feel the little bit of the weight up here at the top pushing me over, okay? So then to keep in mind, how much weight can you take up there? If you're reaching your limit when you do something like that and feel like you're going to fall over, you probably need to redistribute the weight in your pack, all right? Bending over backwards. See if I can do this without falling over down this hill here. If you suddenly see me scream and run down the hill, dial 911 and let them know where I am, okay? Didn't fall over. That's because I got the weight distributed properly, okay? And the frame is holding that weight just where I want it. And the hip belt's nice and snug. This is perfectly adjusted. This is nicely adjusted. A lot of this comes down to where you put the weight and how things are adjusted and fitted onto your body. If you're new to going out hiking and backpacking and you're learning stuff still, there's a lot of places you can go to, a lot of outdoor retailers. There's one that I can mention, Romeo Echo Indigo, that you could go to, and they will help you fit this stuff. They will work with you and spend some time with you and get it fitted right for your body type, your activity level, okay? So you can go to places like that, check it out. If you've got some friends that are experienced with backpacking, hiking, and camping, get together with them, spend some time with them, go over the equipment, try out their equipment. If you don't really want to go busting your bank, go to secondhand stores. There's lots of them around, and you can pick up backpacks sometimes as cheap as 10 bucks, sometimes as much as 35, 40 bucks. They're used, and if you end up deciding, hey, this isn't for me, well, you've not spent so much money, so you don't feel so bad about it, okay? But that's a good place to start if you've got kind of a budget and you don't want to just go spending all your cash doing stuff like this, okay? And of course, if you're into the DIY, hey, there's always PVC. Just saying. It's always a fun thing to play with and make something out of, all right? All right, but so for range of motion, I'm actually really happy with this. I mean, this is a lot of weight, and I can feel a little bit of a slop up here on the shoulder, but it's not throwing me off any. And it's comfortable, and I'm pretty darn sure I could do several miles in a day with this pack on me, okay? But this is just for winter camping, where I'm definitely going to be carrying more, and it's a lot harder to slog, and I need to carry more. During the summertime, I'll probably use a smaller Coleman Peak one pack, so I don't have to carry as much weight because I don't need as much stuff, all right? Alrighty. With that, let's get back up to the trailhead, okay? See you up there. Up to the trailhead. I thought I'd wrap it up here. I'd like to thank you for joining me today on Amputee Outdoors. As always, I'm your host, Glenn, and if you've got any comments, questions, or suggestions, get down there in the comment section. Hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Some of you may have noticed on my prosthetic bulge there on the lower right. Now, that's something I can't really tell you about, but, excuse me, that's better. But if it does work out, this particular thing that you can't see, it's going to make an improvement in the lives of a lot of amputees. Well, yeah, let's just leave it at that, and when we're a little further along, I'll give you a little more detail and maybe show it off. Who knows? All right, well, thanks much for joining me here on Amputee Outdoors. I hope to see you out on the trail. Maybe not with a pack this big, or maybe I will. See you out on the trail.